well, the boss is trying to make you pay for all the ice creams and everything that melted in there because you were the last one to close the freezer. That's where they had me messed up. You want me to pay for what? Because your fridge is broken? Huh? My name not here, my check not here, so it's time to give her a ringer on the dinger. I'm like, yo, what's up, man? We'll answer the phone. So I call her and I'm like, I'm just here to get my last check. And I don't see my name. She's like, look at the switch of words, y'all. I told you weren't getting a check. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mariah Mona. You can see it right down below, and right next to my name is it's a subscribe button. Make sure you press it so you can be subscribed to me, and make sure you hit the bell so you can see my face every time I upload, because why wouldn't you want to see my face? Okay, that is a tongue twister. Oh my god, why am I talking so fast? Calm down. So today I want to do a little story time. I haven't done a story time in a while, so get excited. We're doing a story time. Make sure you like the video before the story time even starts. So I'm gonna do a story time about my experience working at Cold Stone Creamery. I'm not gonna expose which Cold Stone it is because I want to keep their, location confidential and all that, because they don't need that hate. I'm not hating, but I'm hating. But anyway, where should I start? First of all, it was terrible. Worked there for 2 months, hated it. I quit. Yes, I walked out. I quit, period. First thing that ticked me off, let me just tell y'all when I started. I started in the beginning of September and I ended in the beginning of November, meaning that I worked like 1.5 type months, you know what I mean? Off rip, right? When you first start is a 4-day training. In a 4-day training, you learn how to do certain things that you would do in the store. For example, you learn how to make ice cream, or you learn how to mix ice cream, because at Cold Stone you mix ice cream flavors together or whatever. So you learn that in the 4-day training. You don't really learn everything in the 4-day training, not the point. So once you get done with the 4 days of training, you get to start working in the store like So at the store at Cold Stone, there's tips. People usually give tips for making ice cream. I don't know why, but they just give tips for making ice cream, whatever. So after your 4-day training, you have to take a test that is really, really, really specific. I don't know if they do this at other stores, because this was my first job, but the test was really specific. In order to collect tips, you have to pass the test. But knowing me, I was like, test to work at a job? Honey, you hired me. That was the test. What are you talking about? And the test was like ridiculous. Like, how big is the store? How many square feet is the store? Like, bro, how am I supposed to know how much square feet your store? It's your store. You should know that. Don't try to trick me into answering questions because you don't know how big your store is. But anyway, you gotta take that test to collect tips. So let me tell y'all why that was a red flag for me, because it wasn't a lot of workers that worked at this place. Okay, so say you worked a night shift an afternoon night shift with one other person. Say that person is off training and you're not. Both of you guys do the same exact job. At the end of the night, the other person collects all the tips, and it could be a lot of money in the tip jar. That at the end of the night, that other person collects all the tips, even though you guys were doing the same exact thing, just because you didn't take a test. So you don't get the tips. That's a red flag for me, because it's like we're doing the exact same thing. I don't care if they pass the test or not. Maybe I'm not a good test taker. It could be anything to be why you didn't pass that test, or I didn't even take the test. So I was like, I don't like that. You guys doing the same thing, and I can't get no tip. So whatever. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna find a way. So one of my coworkers told me that you can ask for a tip electronically, meaning that if they pay with a card, you can be like, oh, would you like to add $1 tip? And you would type it in the register, and that tip will go to your check. That's what my coworker told me. I get my check the next week after doing that a couple times, and I had to let's round to about $30 in tips, maybe $30 to $50 in tips I got, because we get paid bi-weekly, so every 2 weeks. So in that 2 weeks, I probably accumulated like $30 worth of tips. I get my check. I'm like, okay, let's see where the tips is. I look on my check, no tips. I'm like, oh, so she caught on to what I was doing, and she really took the tips. So now I'm sitting there like, where did that money go? But I was like, whatever, I'm not even supposed to be collecting tips anyway, so I just let it go. My coworker was like, it should have said add on, and it would have been your tips, and it didn't say that. I'm like, whatever, cool, whatever. I don't even care. I'm still getting my money. I still got my check. So whatever, I kind of let that go. I stopped asking for tips and stuff like that, right? So I a couple weeks go by, and then this one night happens. This one night is the reason why I don't have my job anymore. In the front of a store, there's a freezer. Now, nothing was really kept in this freezer. Think of the freezer like, you know, when you walk into like a gas station and you see like all the juices and all the sodas in that freezer. It was a freezer like that, but it was behind the back, like where like we take orders and stuff like that. So it was back there, and there's usually nothing in it. Now, it's nothing in it because the freezer likes to pop open and stay open sometimes at night. So because of that, nothing was really kept in there, because if you kept ice cream in something that's not cold, it'll melt, correct? So they didn't put anything in that freezer because they knew it was you know, defaulty. So only thing that really went in that freezer was like Ubers. Like when we make Ubers, we put that in the freezer because it's gonna get taken out right away and given to the Uber person. So whatever. So I've noticed a couple weeks later that they started putting actual ice cream and ice cream cakes in that freezer. Now usually the ice cream cakes are in the back, in the big freezer, like the walk-in freezer. So I see the cakes and I don't think nothing of it, you know, whatever. So one day I was working with my co-worker. We're gonna change her name. We're gonna give her Alyssa. That's gonna be her name, Alyssa. So I was working with Alyssa, and it got hot. It was really hot outside. So everybody and their dad wanted ice cream. So everybody came in. We was working like nonstop. Like my shift was from 4 o'clock to 8:30. So I was on my feet working straight through, no breaks, no nothing. I was working straight through. People just kept coming in. So I was working straight through. So by the end of the shift, my boss called and was like, y'all must have been working all day. Take some ice cream home, like for yourself. So he was like, all right, oh bet, because we was gonna buy ice cream anyway. But she said she was gonna pay for it. So we're like, okay, cool. So we're gonna make ice cream. So we made our ice cream before we closed the store, and we put it in that freezer that I was talking about. We put it in that freezer because we were gonna take it home when we left anyway. So we closed the store at 8 o'clock, and then cleanup is from 8 to 8:30. So we put it in there around 8 o'clock, and then we clean up about that, yada yada yada. And then I grabbed the ice cream that we made that's to take home, and I grab it and I take it and I close the door. Whatever. So after that I went home. Now I had off for 2 days after that. So I go home, I'm chilling, have my day off, have my second day off. The second day off, the night of, my coworker texts me. She's like, Mariah. I'm like, what's up? She was like, were you the last one to close the freezer the night you was here? I'm like, I don't know. Maybe, like, why? What's your point right now? So she's like, the freezer was left open and all the ice cream cakes and all the ice cream melted. I'm like, okay, why are you telling me? Like, I hear you, but what are you telling me for? So she's like, well, the boss is trying to make you pay for all the ice creams and everything that melted in there because you were the last one to close the freezer. That's where they had me messed up. You want me to pay for what? Because your freezer's broken? Huh? So basically the freezer opened that night and everything melted. But they had me on camera closing the freezer last, so it's my fault apparently. So I was like, keep in mind, my coworker told me this. She told me that my boss was saying that she's gonna take it out of my check. So I get heated easily. So I was like, she's not taking anything out of my check. Her freezer's broken, not mine. She can take it out her own check, not mine. So I'm just going off like, bro, I don't care who closed the freezer last. That's your equipment that's broke. So I told my dad, and my dad is like, no, she's not taking your money, Mariah, whatever. So I get done telling my coworker she's not taking my money. Keep in mind, my coworker's at work and I'm home because it was my day off. Next day I come in and I'm like, my boss hasn't said anything to me about that freezer taking my money. So I'm like, obviously she not taking my money. So I go in for my shift that day. I come in and I start making ice cream, whatever, doing my job. And then the phone starts ringing. And one of my coworkers answer it, and she's like, oh, she want to talk to you. I'm like, what she want to talk to me for? What we got to talk about? Keep in mind, I don't like her anyway. So I'm like, what we got to talk about? I know it ain't about that ice cream. So she's like, hey, da-da-da-da. She starts it off all dumb, like, oh, you haven't been wearing the correct uniform. First of all, we don't have a uniform. It's no Cold Stone hats, no Cold Stone shirts. We don't have one. Therefore, I wear what I want. And I wasn't coming in looking like the fashion week. I wasn't coming in like that. I was just coming in comfortable because I'm working. You're trying to be comfortable. I would wear something like this. And I know that when I would make the ice cream, these parts, this right here might drip in the ice cream, so I would fold it in here just so it wouldn't fall in the ice cream. So I was cool, and she even told me to do that. But that's a minor topic. She was like, I don't like what you're wearing to work. I was like, all right, cool, I'll fix it, whatever. I'm thinking that's all she wanted to say. So then she's like, basically explains to me that the freezer opened and everything melted. So I was like, I hear you. But why are you telling me? That's your ice cream, fix it. I don't know what to tell you. So she's like, yeah, so I'm gonna have to take that out your paycheck. I was like, I stopped talking. She's like, yeah, you understand? I was like, no. She's like, well, you were the last one to close the freezer. I'm like, okay. She's like, yes, I'm gonna take it out your paycheck. I'm like, I don't understand why you're taking me out my paycheck. So at this point in my brain, I'm like, look, this lady obviously is trying to take money out my paycheck, which I think is illegal. I don't even think you can do that. So she's like, she's trying to take the money out my paycheck because her freezer is broken. And keep in mind, yo, if it was like $5 for a little bit of ice cream, cool. But there was like 20 ice cream cakes in there. Each ice cream cake costs about $40, and all of them melted, right? Not to mention the other ice creams that were made. So that's just 20 times 40. That's a lot of money she's trying to take out my check. And I don't even make that much for her to be taking all that out. So she was saying, okay, well, I'm gonna have to split it into 2 or 3 checks to cover all of it. I was like, you gonna have to do what? Right now, I'm not comprehending, because she's talking and I'm like, you're not talking about nothing. I hear you, but you're not talking about anything. So I'm just sitting here not comprehending because you're not making any sense. So I was like, I stopped and I was like, you know what? I don't need this. So I said, I just started saying to everything she was saying. She was like, all right, well, da-da-da-da. So then she said, I'm not gonna take everything out this check though. I'm gonna give you a little bit. I can't leave you with nothing. So I'm like, all right, whatever. So I hang up. I call my dad. He don't answer. So at that point, I'm like, I need to make a decision for myself. I said, I'm leaving. If she's not paying me to do what I'm doing today, why am I here? So I was like, I'm leaving. I told my coworker, I'm like, I'm dipping, not coming back. I'm gone. And like I said, there was only a little bit of workers. So if I left, that hurt them. That hurt them pretty bad. Because now you don't got a worker to work that day. That's salty. She never took my money. I leave out. She's still calling my phone and she texts me and she's like, we could have resolved our issues. You should have just called me before you left. I'm like, girl. Oh my God, get over it, hun. Now you're scared. You're shaking your boots because you didn't think that I was gonna leave. But I did. You're shaking your boots, hun. Anyways, so I go home and then my dad comes home and he's like, we getting your check. I'm like, yeah, I know. So my dad was like, are we going up there? We getting your last check. I'm like, say less. I'm on whatever. And my boss isn't there. One of my coworkers is there. So I'm like, keep in mind, I don't work there, yo. So I shouldn't be going to the back anyway. But I was like, yo, come open the door for me. I'm trying to get my check. She's like, I'm like, open the door. I'm getting my check. So she opens the door and I go to the part where the check says, Mariah's name isn't there. My check isn't there. So I'm like, hold on. I recall on the phone, she said, I'm not gonna take all your money, I'm gonna leave you some. So I'm like, all right, maybe she put a little bit on this check still, because these are like checks, like it's not money. So it's like she had to put it in before. So how is my check just not here? How do you take money out of my check? Like, that's my check, I have to cash it. Like, how are you taking money out of it? So at that point, I'm like, oh, so she physically has my check and she's not gonna give it to me until I guess I pay for all of that. But still, it's still not paying for anything because you have the physical check. You're not paying for anything, hun. Like, I don't understand. So I'm like, oh, word. So I'm at the store and I'm like, my name not here, my check not here, so it's time to give her a ringer on the dinger. I'm like, yo, what's up, man? We'll answer the phone. So I call her and I'm like, I'm just here to get my last check and I don't see my name. She's like, look at the switch of words, y'all. I told you weren't getting a check. That's not what I recall. You said I wasn't getting all of my check. But when I came up here, I was gonna go off either way, because if it was not all the money I deserved on that check, or if it was no check, I was going off and I was calling you because where's my money? So she's like, I told you wasn't getting a check. I'm like, bro, no. I said, you said you wasn't giving me my whole check. Whatever. So my dad is like, you know what? We're getting your check. So we go home and we call the labor force or the labor law or something like that. Long story short, we called them. A couple days later, I get a call from the labor lady that I talked to. She's like, oh yeah, we talked to your previous employer. She said that she sent your check to the address on the check, so you're gonna get your money. I was like, oh, I knew. You didn't even have to call me. I knew I was gonna get my money, but thank you. I really appreciate it. Like, how salty is that? You were so salty. You're so salty because you had to give me the check anyway. But all I gotta say is dirty. Ew. Ew. But anyway, that's the end of the video. I don't want this to be too long. If you like the video, like, comment, subscribe, share the video. And I advise you not to work in any cold stores. But anyways, I'm gonna see y'all in my next video. And until then,